So you'll be glad to know this presentation is going to be very visual. So we're going to be looking at the role of photography in branding and positioning. But specifically, not just for fun, but to grow your business, to get more clients and to connect you to more clients specifically. Has anybody seen this number before? One person. So this is Google's, what Google calls their 0 moment of truth. So they've done a load of research and they've come up with these numbers. So essentially, for somebody to reach out and connect to you, on average, it means that you have to generate 7 hours of content that they see 11 different times. So they need to see 11 different pieces of your material over a period of time in the breadcrumb trail to become interested in you, over 4 different channels. So for example, you may have a podcast, okay? They may see written articles that you've put together, they may see you present, they may see you across Fiverr, something like a platform like that, and across those 4 different channels. So it could be YouTube, it could be written, it could be social media. So as you can imagine, 7 hours of content, 11 different times over 4 different channels. That could be quite overwhelming if you think about it. If you're starting up in business and you know that it takes that amount of effort and energy for one person to actually reach out and connect with you, would you say that's a lot, or is anyone surprised by that number? No, not surprised. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. So that's a bit of the background. So what I want to bring out here for the South Africans in the audience, and I know there are a number, there's a story that I like to tell. And it's about the diamond rush in South Africa. So go back to 1866, there was a huge excitement about diamonds being found. So a farmer, thrilled at the idea of increasing his fortunes, decided to sell his farm and go in search of diamonds. So off he went, scouring the country for diamonds. After a few years, things weren't going well. He went bankrupt. Okay, story doesn't end well for this man, I'm afraid to say. He ended up taking his life and throwing himself into a river, so not a good end for him for sure. But if we go back to his farm and who he sold his farm to, the new owner had a guest who'd come to visit. The guest asked about this huge rock on the mantelpiece. And the new owner said, well, the farm is strewn with these rocks. And the guest said, that is the biggest diamond known to man. Strangely enough, it didn't look like this. It was covered in usual rock. That farm became the Kimberley Diamond Farm, Kimberley Diamond Mine, okay? So the moral of the story, and why I bring that up, is because you don't necessarily have, my view and my belief is you don't have to look far for your diamonds in your business. You probably sat on top of them already. You may not realize it, or you've got these uniques, these differentiators or unique selling propositions, USPs, within your business. But you may have become accustomed to them that you forget to tell your client. They are gold dust pieces that your customers will love, but you may not be telling them the right bits of material that are the gold dust, or you may have forgotten them because you're so used to them, you take them for granted. So my view is you've all got uniques, whether it's within yourself or within your business, and you have to bring those out. Okay, so we're looking for diamonds, we're looking for gems. Hello there, good to see you. So I'm going to introduce a few different concepts here. Now, when we sell a house, I can guarantee there will always be a photograph, at least one photograph. There may even be video, 360-degree video, so you can tour around a film of the house. I'd love to see a house that's sold that hasn't had a photograph attached to it. Okay, so we show home houses. The reason I'm telling you this is because my belief is we need to show home your businesses. We all know what a house looks like, don't we? But every house is different. Even if you've got exact same template house, by the time a few people have lived in it, it's going to look different with taste and feel and decor. We all probably think we know what a business looks like. But again, every business is different. Yeah. Whether it's the people in the business, their skills that they bring, the location, the values, the purpose, every business is different. So we show home houses. Why don't we show home businesses? And I think we do to a certain extent on websites, but we're in that infancy phase, in my view, on websites. We haven't, things have moved on from that kind of library static page. They've moved on and then evolving all the time. But my view is we need to embrace more to show home your business. So the next concept I'm going to bring in is the power of the subliminal. Other supermarket delivery trucks are available. I spotted this Sainsbury's one. Now you may be driving along, if you have a car, you may be on the bus, you may be listening to a podcast, you may be chatting to somebody on the phone, you may be listening to the radio. You may not be consciously aware that you've seen this van with this livery, okay? But you may be surprised or not to then find yourselves in a supermarket, either online or in the actual physical supermarket, putting blackberries or blueberries in your supermarket trolley, in your basket, or in your online basket, okay? The power of the subconscious is phenomenal, and that's what we're taking on board with photographs, whether it's still images or moving images. And I'll explain a little bit more about that with some science to back it up. So now I thought it was a good opportunity to actually introduce who I am with that background. So my name's Denise Quinlan. I'm the founder of Insightful Images. But I actually, in terms of my uniques and my gems, I call myself a business developer, and I'm people-focused, but with a visual twist, okay? And that's because my background is in business development, but I'm very visual, okay? So I work with businesses to really extract those gems so we can bring those specific to your target clients. To give you a flavor, these are some of the clients I've worked with. So we've got some large clients. I'm based in Chiswick in West London, so Heathrow is one of my neighbours. And we've got some smaller clients as well. But I'm going to be showing you some of my work, illustrating some of the points that I'm making here. So we're specifically going to be looking at brand identity, and I know a number of you will already know, brand identity isn't just about logos and colour schemes. It's about every touch point that your prospect or potential client goes through when they interact with you, whether that's kind of 7-Eleven 4 style in terms of Google, whether they see you online, whether they meet you in person, they pick up the phone, the email response, every interaction or everywhere they see you, that is part of your brand identity. So I'm sure you're all very conscious of that when you're meeting with your clients or reaching out to your clients. But again, we'll talk about the gems. We're going to be looking at the key messages of your business and your chief differentiators, those USPs, yeah. So coming on to some of the key elements, I'm sure you're familiar with this phrase, a picture paints 1,000 words. It's translated into many languages, not all of them though. A lot of European languages have this phrase. Do you have it in Italian, Matteo?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. But a twist on this that I like is words give you the facts, images add the emotion. So why do images add emotion? One of the reasons is that the brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. Now, if you think about it, we're born with the gift of sight. The majority of us, thankfully, are born with the gift of sight, but we have to learn how to read. It may take a period of several years to become a speed reader, even more investment of time and energy, because you're actually translating all these squiggles, shapes, and curves into something meaningful. That translation process takes time. When you see an image, it's straight feed into the brain, into the neurons specifically. So seeing something is very fast. We're going to talk about first impressions soon. Another twist on the same phrase is words add the facts, images connect you, and they particularly connect you when there are people in those images. In terms of learning styles, I'm sure some of you may be aware of this, between 65 and 85% of us are visual learners. Some of you, you may be kinesthetic, you learn by practicing and by doing. You may be aural, by hearing. Some are words-based, and you may be a mix of all of those, but most people are predominantly visual learners. Okay. And those who like their social media stats, if you post on social media with an image, on average, you're likely to get 94% more views than if you post without an image. Okay? You begin to see the trend and some of the rationale as to why there are billions of images uploaded every day or every hour on social media. So you may think this visual thing might be new, but then you come across gentlemen like this. And does anybody know who this is? A classical scholar? Any guesses? Julius Caesar. We're in the same. This is actually. Oh yeah. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. Somebody. Oh, I heard something. Oh, yeah, oh, well done. Bonus points. You get an extra beer. So, this is Aristotle, who's a Greek philosopher, who was born around over 2,000 years ago. Okay. So you may have heard a few of his phrases if you've not even read classical work. But he came up with the phrase, there can be no words without images. So it's not a chicken and egg thing, which came first. Images came first, words followed. Okay. So 5,000 years ago, we have hieroglyphics. And I did extensive Google research. And hiero means sacred, and glyphic is a curved, shaped carving. Okay, so these are around 5,000 years ago. These are today's modern hieroglyphics. Okay? In my view, there's no such thing as coincidence. We're visual creatures, we're innately visual. What has changed is the technology, which is essentially almost free, that enables us visual creatures to disseminate breakfast pictures, everything we want around to the world, which is quite phenomenal. If you step back 10 or so years ago, it's quite major development. So these are today's modern day hieroglyphics. So if we look a little bit more at the science and why we're so visual, we have a little bee here. Now the brain is responsible for a lot. The neurons in a bee's head are 970,000. So to give you some context, the neurons in that of a human are 100 billion. So neurons are the cells that send messages around the body. Okay. So we have 100 billion. So that's why we're deemed to be more intelligent creatures. Now, when we match this with the senses, we've got here 3 of the 5 senses percentage-wise. So 30% of the brain's neurons are devoted to one sense, 8% to another sense, 3% to a third. Any guesses? Which sense is 30%?
Sight.
Exactly. Well done. That's why we're all here. Yeah, let's go. Leading the witness nicely. Any guesses as to what 8% might be? That's a touch. Sound. Okay. 8% is touch. Who's that? You? I heard it over there. No, somebody over here was saying touch. So 8% of the brain's neurons are devoted to touch, and only 3% for hearing. So that's why you can kind of seemingly multitask, listening to the radio or listening to something while doing something else. It's not demanding too much brain power. But the brain is devoted to sight for good reason, and that's for the continuance of the species. So you need to be able to see to find food for your daily sustenance and daily living. You need to be safe. We all know flight or fight. We need to be able to see to work out whether we're safe or not. And thirdly, literally, it is to find a mate. Okay, literal continuance as a species. Okay, so the brain is very powerful, and we take it for granted. Okay, that of what we see, that fast intake of information and material. I don't know if you stand in supermarket queues. You may do all your shopping online now, but do you kind of make stories up? You see somebody in the queue, you see them with a huge trolley. You're trying to work out they've got a family of 7, or they're going for a party. You know, the brain is always trying to make a story of this thing. So vision comes into that massively. First impressions. How long? Oh, answers coming through already. How long does it take to form an impression of a stranger from their face. Who reckons A? Hands up. Nobody. Ooh. B? Still nobody. C? Oh, a few. D? Oh, very good. Round of beer for everybody then. So it's a tenth of a second, which is a blink of an eye. Research does vary, but it's in the microseconds area. It's super fast. Okay. Now here's the super big thing. A first impression is formed when you meet somebody in person, but also when you look at a photograph or a video. Okay. The brain doesn't differentiate between 2D and 3D. It's doing that assessment, am I safe or not? So in terms of your first impressions, what are your first impressions of this gentleman? Fuzzy picture, yeah? What's that, sorry?
Chilled out.
He's chilled out, he's cash. So this was a LinkedIn profile photo. Now, this may work for you, it may not, okay? But for me, he's actually, he's a tech salesperson, okay, for a large organization. And my impression is kind of contradictory because he's got a top pocket square, but the photograph is saying something different. So that's why, for me, it stands out as an interesting example of a profile photo. I don't think it's necessarily doing him justice. Okay, prospects look you up. Yeah, over 60% of research is done before they even send you an email or send you a message, or God forbid, even pick the phone up. Okay, so that. A lot of research is going on beforehand. So be aware of those profile photos. So what I'm going to focus on here particularly is looking at you. I talked about gems and diamonds, but my structure here is looking at you, your team, and very much understanding your values and your purpose. Here's back to that, show home in your business. Every business is different. But importantly, you've got to remember the client in this big Venn diagram. And looking at specifically how your business stands out, what are your differentiators. But the next important element down the bottom here is the customer journey and experience. So we're going to kind of step through that. So in terms of positioning your business to grow and get clients on board, you need to put a face to you and your business. So we're going to be looking at you, your team, and your clients. For those of you who like Venn diagram versions, and for those of you who like images. Okay, we've got both points covered. So if we look at you first of all, we've talked a little bit about profile photos, but this client of mine is Alex, who's an independent financial advisor. So Greg, we're talking about finances here. One of his new clients joined and said this: "You'll laugh when I say I looked through the list and you seem to have the nicest, most honest looking face." They went on to say, "I expect you think that's a strange approach." Now, as we know, it's not a strange approach at all. We all do it, consciously or subconsciously. We're doing a scan of who we see to work out whether we need to run or not. On a LinkedIn profile, or hopefully in a networking business event, it's more about, can I see myself doing business with this person? Or can I see myself hiring this person? Can I see myself working for this person? Okay? Hopefully you don't have to think about running away from people in this room, for example. So subconsciously that is happening. In a tenth of a second, that process is happening. I won't go too much into profile photos, because if you see on the bits of paper there's an opportunity to get a free resource on 10 profile mistakes that unwittingly turn your clients away. But a couple of things I will point out is it does need to be a head and shoulders shot. We literally need to be able to see the whites of the eyes. You know, when sunglasses aren't good when you meet face to face, and they're not good when you're in a profile photo and you're trying to position your business. If you're in a low-profile security type role, you're probably not going to be on LinkedIn, yeah? But you're probably not going to be promoting your business. You're going to be using other means to connect to your target clients. Airbnb state that anonymity erodes trust. Typically, if we can't see a face, we become more suspicious. We can't connect with you. As humans, we become naturally suspicious if we can't see somebody where we're supposed to see somebody. There's something called pareidolia. Okay, so can anybody see the face there? Car, so with their headlights and the grille, that's often seen as a face. Okay, so if you're visual, you might see faces, but pareidolia is actually a psychological response to seeing faces and shapes in inanimate objects. So sometimes you'll get tabloid press reporting that people see the face of Jesus in burnt toast, or on this Twitter feed you'll find a whole lot of people who are seeing faces in unusual things. Now, the reason, that's why they talk about the man in the moon, okay, because it's a bit face-like. Okay, does anybody see shapes in clouds? No? Did you get dogs in clouds? Yeah, some of you. Others are going, who are these crazy people I'm sat with? Yeah, okay, right. Okay. And this comes, again, back to primeval programming. Imagine the savannah long grass. Your brain is probably unaware to you, is tracking and looking for faces, because if you find a face, you need to work out quickly whether you need to run or not. If you see a face of a lion, I don't think your chances are particularly great, to be honest, but that's what the brain is doing. It's always processing to make sure you're safe. But the thing with photographs is every photograph you put on your website or on your feeds is telling a story, wittingly or otherwise. So the man in the lift, if you saw earlier, his LinkedIn, he was telling a story through his photograph. That we start making the story. It's not about the supermarket trolley they offer the party. Why is he in a lift? Why is he why is he wearing a top pocket? The brain can become curious. So it's making sure the photographs you put on there are considered. When you write copy for your websites, your customer-facing documents, you present to your clients, I imagine you put some time and effort into that. Okay. Given that the brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text, the photographs become the headline news. So you need to construct and make sure those photographs are saying what you want them to say, okay, rather than being a passing photograph in the lift, unless, of course, you're selling lifts or that's the impression you genuinely want to give, okay? So in terms of typical portraits you see on LinkedIn, or websites, these look familiar, sorts of things you see? Yeah, okay. So these are sort of photographs once some of my clients, a small business of 26 employees, these are the photographs we created having had a workshop with them at least a week beforehand. I'm going to point out the gentleman over here. You may have noticed he's got medals. Yeah, may have spotted he's got medals. Now, he served in Afghanistan. He's now a software developer. I was telling those details to a business owner who does websites and SEO type work. And the business owner said he would absolutely get Stephen here in for an interview in the military and is a software developer, because somebody who's been in the military will know what mission critical means and what a project deadline is. So when we thought about putting that out, putting these images together, that's not something we considered. But what I'm saying here is, if there's something about you can bring out in your photograph or your video, that's going to be more engaging. So if we go back to Google's 0 moment of truth, 7-11-4, the more you stand out, the quicker somebody will engage with you, because people become consciously aware of you rather than your kind of background noise. Okay. So it doesn't need to be outrageous. Something slightly different, bring something out about you, people will connect with you. Okay? People buy from people like them. Yeah? I mentioned we've got the 10 profile mistakes as the free resource. So if you tick the piece of paper, you can actually get for the bundle, the free gift of resources. This is included in that. So if you'd like this free resource, let me know and hand that piece of paper in. Now, how many of you, at the prospect of having your own photograph taken, either actively avoid it, grin and bear it, suffer it, or absolutely love being in front of the camera? So who's A? Okay, well, good stuff. Well done for being honest. Who just B, grins and bears it? Oh, that's probably good. And who loves being in front of the camera? Oh, well done. Well done for equally being honest. So for those of you who don't like being in front of the camera, or you have colleagues who shy away from this, again, I've got another resource. how to feel more comfortable when you're in front of the camera, particularly when it's getting in the way of business. Now, I've worked with Dr. Josephine Perry, who's a sports psychologist, and she's borrowed a model from the performance world, sport and stage performance worlds, on goals, preparation and support to help you overcome that anxiety, perhaps, of being photographed, particularly when it's getting in the way of business. So another resource for you to pick up. So we've talked a lot about you there in terms of the positioning. I'm now going to talk about your team or your associates if you have them. This is a website for a security company, cyber security. Now I don't know if you can see behind this black strip. Can you see there are faces behind here? So even for a software company, which is an intangible good, they're saying this is very much about the team. Yeah, this is our business is about the people who create this software. So it's personalising, it's subtly personalising it. Those of you who travel on the tube, has anybody seen this poster? Yeah, okay. Transport for London do fantastic posters promoting their staff. So keep a lookout for those. So I think they do a great job because they're humanising it. So similar to motorways, when they're doing roadworks or construction sites, they'll often try and personalise it. They'll put Fred or Jeff in the hard hat because they want you to slow down. They want you to realise that you going at 90 miles an hour through a 50-mile zone on the motorway is going to be endangering somebody's life. Okay, so they're trying to personalise it, make it feel a bit more real, a bit more human. In team shots specifically, so this bottom image, it's good to have photographs, headshots of your team and a team photo. Going back to if you do something slightly different, it gets more engagement, it gets more interaction in terms of 7-11-4, people remembering. So the top image got ridiculous amounts more engagement in comments from people than the bottom image did. And that's because people are thinking, potentially, you're thinking different things. You might be thinking they're slacking. You might be thinking, what's the joke? You might be thinking, you're creating the story that's going with this image. But you're thinking more about it potentially. Some of you may pass on quickly and think, this is why are they doing this? Move on, okay? A lot of people, it will engage them more. So again, it doesn't have to be outrageous. Doing something slightly out of the ordinary than just being stock still engages people more. And I always maintain that if you don't have a profile photo or team photographs on a website, whether that's the management team, the leadership team, or the owners, it's the modern day equivalent of having a shop with no staff. Okay, so we always talk about the website being the shop front, your shop front to the world. Okay, you would never have a shop with no staff in it. So that's the parallel to consider, really. So in terms of best positioning your business, what I'm saying here is you need to show what you do. Show how you stand out. Don't just write it in words. That's why I've written it in words here. Actually show it. Now, I'm going to borrow an example here from, one of my clients, Heathrow Airport. They have a careers and jobs fair every year. So they invite 16 to 22-year-olds to come along to a careers and jobs fair. As you can imagine, Heathrow is a huge economy. Okay, so at this event they have about 90 stands of employers and businesses in Heathrow. So they have, as you can imagine, people like British Airways, the flight companies. They have civil engineers, because there's a lot of construction going on at Heathrow. They have restaurant, they have hospitality. You've got everything at Heathrow. Now, I'm going to pick out one of the stands. It's actually the Home Office, it's the Border Force team, because they did a fantastic job of being mobbed the whole day. Okay. Now you can see we've got polar bear skin for starters. Okay. If we go in a bit closer, we've got a caiman, that little alligator. Took me a while to realise why they're called the Cayman Islands, but there we go. We've got a tusk at the bottom of the picture, if you can see that, and to the left of the picture, you've got that briefcase which is full of drugs. Okay, so the Border Force team did a fantastic job of keeping people's attention. That's why they were mobbed all day. So the reason I'm pointing these guys out is because we need to learn from them and do exactly the same thing as much as we can. We don't necessarily have drugs and illegal substances on on your websites, but you've really got to bring out the thing that attracts your target clients. We've all got short attention spans. There's ridiculous amounts of content, more than there ever was, and that's going to continue. So you've really got to put something exciting out. Get those diamonds out, shine them a bit more. Make it short and punchy for your clients to go, yeah, that's what you do. Now, it doesn't have to be that sophisticated. Okay. So in terms of customer experience, we've got a group of consultants here. You can tell by the left image, they're probably based in London. They're colourfully dressed. They may not be your taste, it may not be your decor choice, okay? You may not be the target audience. They're actually looking for 40, 50 something individuals. They're career transformation consultants. So people who are going through that 40, 50s, kind of like they've done years of grafting in corporate organisations and looking for people who are trying to work out what the rest of their life is about. Is it working 7 till 7 days a week, working for a corporate organisation? So you will automatically be doing your scanning, working out, could you work with these people? Are they for you? Are they not for you? Turning the page quickly or clicking onto the next page. Okay, so they're showing some of what they're doing. So they're just one-on-one kind of conversations going on. There's group kind of consulting going on there. So they're giving hints already as to what they're doing. And then if we look at the clients, there's two combined things going on here. So if you show your target client in your image, okay, like attracts like. Okay. But the second thing that's happening here, in that consulting role, beyond headshots and a team shot, you're starting to show the customer experience. If you're looking to work with this organisation, you're getting a sense of what it might be to be sat there. Okay, you can see they've actually got skills to be able to talk to people as well. It's not just a static eyes front type image, but you're giving a sense of what that next step. You're making it easier for your client, essentially, your prospect, to actually get a sense of what working with you will be like. Okay, in just a snapshot, literally. So think about what you do. If you do any sort of advising or consulting, this is quite an easy one to do. Yeah. Make sure the decor or the background is appropriate for the types of clients you work with or the environment in which you work. So this is a standard customer testimonial. Yeah. This app is very easy to use. There are plenty of jobs available. They also have an outstanding team to support you all the way if you need anything. So, pareidolia, who looked at the face first? Are you consciously aware you looked at the face first? Yeah, okay, right. So we've got triple whammies going on here. One, it's adding credibility because, well, assuming it's, this is real, which I don't have no reason to believe it's not real, it's adding credibility that there's a real person who's said this and it's not been made up by the marketing department. If you're looking for 20-somethings, then again, that kind of self-identification is going on. So they're thinking, okay, they look like me, subconsciously. And then, because you've got a face, you've got pareidolia going on, people are drawn to faces. So on your web page, if you've got a face, it's like a flag, it's like a beacon going off. People will be naturally drawn to it. You want to stand your customer testimonials out, I'm sure. So it's a great way of getting people to look at testimonials. Now, myself and other people, some will look at the face, and I don't need to read the testimonial anymore. I just know they've got somebody 20-something. That's who this is for. Okay. So it depends on your particular persuasion of how you take in information as to how you will digest that there. So, in summary, we've looked at how to best position your business, but it is very much about looking at you, your team, and importantly, your clients. Okay. So for those who like it more in a Venn diagram format, same sort of thing. It is bringing out those gems. It is bringing out those differentiators about your business, but it's also showing your client journey. So we were talking earlier about headshots. So it's more than headshots. Yeah. It's about giving that taste and flavour. Don't make your prospects work hard. Why make it hard for them? Show them what you do. Show them what it'd be like to work with you. So, in summary, it's a visual world. It always has been. That hasn't changed. The technology has changed and is ever changing, as we know. People connect with people. That's not changed either. And they particularly connect with people they know, like, and trust. So put people on the websites who look like the people you're trying to get to, because they'll naturally be attracted. Show you, your team, and your clients. But use images that tell a story, but make sure it's the story that you want to tell. Okay, so you've got to think about it and construct that in the same way that you construct the written context. And the key thing is, some people are doing headshots. I did some research a couple of years ago on West London Business Award winners, and only 51% of the businesses had photographs of their leadership team or their team members on the website, which I thought is incredibly low. So that was just 2 years ago. I'm not sure it's changed. So you've got the great opportunity of stealing the advantage on your competitors, but not just stealing the advantage, actually connecting to people you want to connect with to get your clients on board. And reduce that Google zero moment of truth, reduce that time of 7-11-4 down to something shorter, yeah? Get those clients on board more quickly.